Welcome back, AIM Sports Gang.
Yes,
We're back again for another episode.
yes. Another week in football has passed us. Not 1 week, but 2 weeks. Now we're on to a third week of football. And last week was an exciting week. Last week had a lot of upsets, had a lot of ups and downs. A lot of survivor streakers were ended.
Oh, buddy.
A lot of teams that were supposed to win didn't end up winning, aka the Raiders. A lot of popcorn was thrown out, wasn't eaten. But that's over and done with. We're headed to week 3 of NFL football.
That's it. Lots to talk about, lots to cover. Lots of damage control for a lot of people.
Yes.
I think we saw with injuries starting to, show some people's fantasy teams might be in for a bit of a change up, maybe checking that waiver wire. We definitely know, Owner mentioned, survivor pools are probably broken.
Yes.
At this point. But, lots to do. And, moving on to week 3. So, before we move on to week 3, let's kind of go over the game of the weeks from week 2.
Yes.
So, first game of the week. It was my favorite team was the New Orleans Saints at the Dallas Cowboys. And Dallas was favored -6. And might I throw in, because I had shared this in with Ulner, every big analyst on the NFL Network called unanimously Dallas -6. Some even called a blowout for -6.
Well, they didn't believe in
They
New
didn't.
Orleans.
We called it here. We called New Orleans +6.
Yeah.
We said Derek Carr is moving different. We saw
Yes.
Alvin Kamara moving different.
Yeah.
The overall entire offense was vibing. They didn't see it, and your boys here at AIM Sports saw it.
Yes.
So whether you called the spread or whether you called the money line, we hope we were able to make a little bit of money because we were both right that day. What a game that was.
Oh, what an exciting game. Kamara, 3 touchdowns within the first half.
Wow.
Dallas just didn't know how to play football all of a sudden.
In Arlington.
In Arlington.
Oh, it's crazy.
And then New Orleans scored, 40 points back-to-back, week 1, week 2?
Unreal.
Unreal. They were the highest, shot Super Bowl team to bet.
Yeah.
From the bottom all the way to the top. After week 2, they were the most team that everybody bet on to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Now, people could say this is a fluke. They were just trying to get people's money. But you saw them play Carolina, who right now is having issues with their quarterback trying to find their identity.
Yep.
But now you have the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. You go into their house. Prescott got signed with a new contract.
He got the bag.
And you go and demolish them?
That's crazy.
Like the score looked like a high school football game or like a college football game. It wasn't a contest at all.
This was elite Derek Carr.
Elite.
Alvin Kamara was playing
like in his prime. He came back a few years ago, had no injury, was just scoring touchdowns, using his legs, using his force. Even on the defensive side, New Orleans had some big hits.
They shut him down.
Oh, they shut them down.
Like, Zeke had nowhere to go. He was constantly going into a wall. I think he was averaging less than 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Oh, it was brutal for the Cowboys.
Oh,
I'll say
100%.
it. Now here, let me ask you, Elner. Do you think in the first 2 games, we're still pretty fresh, we're only 2 weeks in. Do you think from what we're seeing that Saints, it might be too early, but Super Bowl contender?
So as I was saying, like a lot of people have been betting on them. A lot of people have thrown all their money. They're the highest team that has ranked after week 2 to win the Super Bowl. Now you got to look at that division. You got a lot of teams. It's still early.
Yep.
It's week 2. But the Saints called it. They believed in themselves.
Yeah.
They bet on themselves because prior to the season, they said they have some plays that it's going to electrify the fan base.
Yeah.
It's going to bring back the fan base that a few years ago where the fans were like, we don't believe in this team. Derek Carr is just throwing interceptions. Kamara is injured.
Yeah.
Coaching is not there. Play calling is not there. But in the past 2 weeks, we have seen a Super Bowl caliber team. If you look at the power rankings, I believe they're number 2 behind Kansas City. Might even be number 1 in the power rankings right now.
Wouldn't be surprised.
But the way that they're playing, don't count them out. The Saints are always a good team. And in that dome, with that black and gold, it gets difficult, it gets tough, it gets hard.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel they are a Super Bowl team. They've always been. They've always been a Super Bowl team. The quarterback, they've always had a good veteran quarterback.
Yeah.
A good caliber quarterback. A running back. Wide. The whole scheme is amazing where they're able to play a full game. They're well around, but the interceptions were costing them with Derek Carr.
It was.
Derek Carr wasn't comfortable. Kamara was injured. You had Michael Thomas, who, amazing player, but I feel was getting too much attention.
Was.
The team had to be like, Michael Thomas has to get the ball.
Yeah.
Number one, that's it. But now you really see Shaheed,
Yeah.
Olave. Olave didn't have a big game week 1, but week 2 he had amazing catches at the goal line.
Yeah.
That got Kamara into the end zone. And I feel with them adjusting from week 1 playing a team who hasn't found their identity to week 2 who a team who thinks they know their identity, and to blow both of them out with 40 points games.
Nuts. It was nuts.
That's a Super Bowl caliber team to me.
I agree.
Who can adjust.
I agree. And I think you nailed it. I think with the proliferation of Chris Olave, right? Kamara has, reinvigorated his like prime caliber, and Carr's tightened up those throws.
Yeah.
I think it spreads the field a little bit more, right? Who are they going to send it to? You don't know. And I think that's what's different here. Because you're right. In the Michael Thomas era, it was, double team Michael Thomas if you have to. It's going to him anyways.
Yeah.
And so it would force drawbacks. It would force interceptions. It would force, dropped opportunities. It would force everything because everybody from the defensive coordinator right up to the guy in the 300 stand eating popcorn knew that the balls went to Michael Thomas.
Yeah, exactly.
And so at the end of the day, the Saints are doing it themselves, and I'm glad they kind of are sharing the ball a little bit because it keeps the team on edge. And to your point, they're well-rounded now.
Yes.
I do agree that they definitely look like a Super Bowl contender team. I think they always have been.
Mm-hmm.
I think as much as I am truly a Saints fan, they are my team. I think they have one more big test to see if they are a championship contender, and that is Week 3 against the Philadelphia Eagles, who themselves are positioned to win, or at least be the top 5 contenders to be a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
I think if they beat those guys, I think at that point they're solidifying themselves as a contender for this year in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you might hear chants, "Who that Saints?"
Exactly. That's
you might
it.
Come back, yeah.
That's it. But I mean, hey, at the end of the day, we were right. Those analysts at NFL Network were wrong. The Saints won. But at the end of the day, we called the cover and it hit.
Yes.
So that helps both Alden and I. We both called it together, so that moves us both in the W column.
Yes.
Which moves us to the second game of the week. Ooh. Another championship contender that was playing. Yeah. Cincy at KC. Now, KC was favored here at -6. And for those who tuned in last episode, I threw in a bit of a wild card, even though I agree with Ulner initially at +6. Before the episode ended, I switched it up because, Mahomes and I have a very interesting relationship in that I've gotten burned by him many times. I ended up calling KC -6, and somehow Mahomes messed with me again. And I unfortunately took the loss because Cincy covered, making Ulner right +6. So Ulner, what was your quick takeaway with that game?
That game was really interesting. That game was a lot of fun. It was a divisional game. It was a playoff game. It felt like there was a lot of hit or misses. There was a lot of good football that kept going on. And every time there's a playoff game or a big game, Patty Mahomes always finds himself down with few minutes left in the game. But then on top of it too, you also find referees give Patty Mahomes an edge.
The superstar call.
Exactly, because there was a pass interference. Sure, I get it. He was hit before. But I feel like throughout the game, if that was a call to be made in the fourth, that a call like that should have made throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
And that call was only made because the Kansas City Chiefs were down.
Yeah.
They got that call, which led them to the field goal, and ended up winning the game.
Yeah.
Interesting game, beautiful game. Just Burrow hasn't had the hunch recently to just surpass Mahomes.
Yeah.
I feel like Burrow is there with Mahomes trying to match him, but there's a few more links where Burrow has to climb for him to surpass him. And a game on Sunday showed that Patrick Mahomes never fights out, never count him out.
Yeah.
He's there till the end, till the fourth quarter where it hit 0. And Andy Reid, you got to believe in Andy Reid.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what it is. And like how we said with the Saints, they're able to adapt. They've been adapting. Past 2 years, back-to-back Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
Right? So they've been able to adapt, run on schemes, do injuries, even though they lost a big piece this week too in Pacheco.
Yeah.
But now they just signed Kareem Hunt in the practice squad, who knows the playbook.
Yep.
But having a name like that benefits a team because now you have rookies on that team who don't have a lot of film tape, and when other teams play and see, oh, Kareem was in the back, are all focused on that. And Kansas City and their scheme and Andy Reid know how to play mind games with other teams.
Yeah.
And so at the end of it, Kansas City covered. They lost the game. Sorry, Cincinnati covered the spread. Kansas City won the game.
Yeah.
We called it +6, but you decided to switch with your wild card.
Yeah.
Which, here in Canada and Toronto, we have a thing that says called Pro Line. You know what Pro Line tells you? It says to go with your gut, buddy.
I know.
And so, at the time you did, but you just had a hunch on your back where you felt Mahomes was going to let you down, and he still let you down.
He still let me down. Even though he won, he still let me down. But you know what, Matt? I think you're right. I think adapting is what's important to that team, and I think that's, like you said, that's what made them a two-time champion, going for a three-peat this year. Quite literally because Andy Reid, being calm, cool, collected, the way he's been, he doesn't get rattled. Mahomes and him, I think, have a great working relationship. Mahomes is, irrespective of who's on his team, he's able to make magic happen. We saw that perfectly placed pass down the sideline for Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, you can't get better than that.
You legitimately cannot get better. It literally outside the fingertips of the safety and literally just perfectly into Rashee's hand.
Yeah.
Perfectly. And I think we see that time and time again with Patty Mahomes. And one of the things, though, I will add is, like you said, Joe Burrow's right there, right neck and neck. Just he needs to put that little above and beyond, a little extra to kind of get him over that hump. Luckily, he had his kicker, McPherson, kind of bailing him out. Like, you got to keep in mind, McPherson was 53-yard, 48-yard, 33 yards. These are long kicks for a kicker in the game. But I also want to give kudos to the KC defense, right? I mean, they held it down. They had a defensive TD. So I think that's super, super important. And like you mentioned, with the addition, the adaptation that they're now facing, with the addition of Kareem Hunt, I mean, Kareem Hunt, we know, has been and can easily be a starting running back for a
100%.
team. And he knows the playbook.
Yeah.
He knows the playbook. So to bring him back on, he's already been conditioned. Maybe get him in the reps in, get the rust off. I think he should be good. I think going forward, Casey's going to be interesting. But all to say is, in this particular game of the week, since he did cover, Allner, you did call it, I was wrong. And like you said, up here in Canada, I should have stayed with my gut.
Yeah, I should
have. But that leads us to our last game of the week from week 2 on Sunday, which was Chicago at Houston. Houston was favored by -6.5. Houston, we both called to win by -6.5, and we were both wrong by 1 point. Again. Again.
Always by 1.
The first week, Houston beat the Falcons.
It was the
Falcons by 1 point. Oh, sorry, by 2 points.
Yeah.
When we called them, or was it Indianapolis?
No, it was Houston, Indianapolis.
Yeah, Houston, Indianapolis. Sorry, in week 1.
We had the -3.
We had the -3. They won by 2. And now this week, they beat Chicago Bears by 6 when we called 6.5.
I guess Houston's not going to be called anymore.
Well, that's it. I'm done with it. I mean, to your point, I think you mentioned earlier, Ulner, they're trying to find their identity.
Yes.
They're trying to figure out who they are. And definitely think they're a top-tier contender. Definitely a team that I would continuously, put my units behind. It's just maybe not, and then maybe the next couple of weeks as they kind of figure themselves out.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, I think it was a good game. It was just, Houston had it. They just didn't cover for us, man.
And then Cam Akers fumbled right towards the end too.
Yeah.
Because Mixon got injured, and that's an issue with Cam Akers, even in when he played with the Rams.
Yeah.
Holding the football, controlling the football, security was a big factor.
Yeah.
And that put him in the doghouse.
It did.
He didn't able to play. And then there was injuries that happened and he got another chance to play. He played amazing.
Yeah.
But now in this offense where he's not 1, he's not 2, he's 3rd. He's 3rd string. And now for you to go from 3rd string to start, you go from the football on a big possession. If you would have scored a touchdown, Bears would have covered the spread. We would have covered the spread. You would have won. But instead, they made the game more difficult for themselves.
Right.
Giving the ball away. Now being able to trust their defense or put the game on their defense's hands. And what Houston did, because we know Houston knows play defense, won by 6.
Yeah.
And there's games like this where you have 2 elite quarterbacks. You have C.J. Stroud, who was picked number 2 or number 1 overall last year, and then Caleb Williams,
Yeah.
who was picked number 1. Right, and both of them had a good sportsmanship moment at the end of the game, where C.J. Stroud went and told Caleb, hey, you're gonna be a good quarterback in this league.
Yeah.
Just learn from your mistakes.
Yep.
Don't take hits.
Shake it off. Yeah.
Shake it off. You got this. And aside from that, it shows the power, the energy of what this game brings, of the brotherhood.
Yeah.
And it's not just between men and boys; it's a brotherhood or a sisterhood as well too, of any sports, on what it brings to people,
right,
of teamwork and sportsmanship. But the game was amazing. 6.5. Yes, we aim sports betting. We lost it by 1 point. But I'm going to take the positive out of it and see, hey, listen, there was a trend. We saw good quarterbacks.
Yep.
And now we know what both these teams bring to the table.
Exactly.
Even though we laugh and say Houston may be done, we're not going to put our money where our mouth is on them. But it could change.
It could.
But this was an amazing game. I liked it. It was a good Sunday night game. It got it close. Both teams still, again, I feel it's only been 2 weeks. I think all teams are still finding their identity and trying to figure out what they do and how they're going to get their team to the Super Bowl.
And like I said, it's still fresh. The 2 young quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Stroud's just coming off, a very good supporting cast. Caleb Williams, it's not to discount him. Maybe he has a little bit of rust coming off. Maybe, understand that this is not what college is. It's not a testament to his skill. It's just a matter of his adaptability, right?
Exactly.
Stroud adapted fairly quickly. Caleb maybe takes an extra couple of games, maybe a season. That's fine. But he also needs to get the receiving core.
Yes.
I think once the Bears see that, I think they'll be able to kind of support him with that.
That'll be
like I think Keenan Allen was out, right?
Yeah, Keenan Allen's out too. Yeah.
So I mean, his main wide receiver is gone. Someone who has that veteranship, that can guidance, is gone. But coming back to the spread, Mixon got injured. That was a big hit.
Yeah.
Your star running back, who is typically positioned with that offense, a high caliber and high powered offense, at least 18 to 20 fantasy points, had to leave, unfortunately, and got 8 points. That is a testament to the lack of work that Mixon did, not because of his skill, but because he was just injured.
Yes.
Right? And then he was a snap count when he came back.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? There's no way they're going to risk him for that, right?
Yeah.
So I think all to say is that good game from both sides. We wish Houston was able to get one more point.
One more.
Right? But this game does have injuries. They took the hits in stride, made changes, and here's at Aim Sports, we're taking the hits in stride, making our changes, and maybe when Houston kind of finds their identity, maybe we'll come back to them going forward. But to close out our Game of the Weeks for Week 2 with our updated records. Now, keep in mind, folks, we try to keep our Game of the Weeks records separate than our Thursday Night Football records, because some teams have shorter turnaround times, right? Injury reports and such. So to keep our record updated for our Game of the Weeks, Ulner is sitting at 2-4 after 2 weeks.
Yes.
I'm sitting at 1-5. So still got a big bounce back. That first week, that 0-3 week, that's still hurting us. So we got to bounce back from that.
But we're poised to come back.
We're coming back. We're coming back.
It.
Slow and steady. We're pulling an Andy Reid here.
Yes.
Slow and steady.
There you go.
Which leads us to our fantasy segment of it. So, folks, what we do here is we pick our ideal fantasy lineup across Thursday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, and Monday Night Football. And what we do is we base it off of ESPN PPR rankings. Our goal is to get, obviously, as high as possible, but at the very minimum, get you across that century, that 100-point marker. All right? Now, we pick 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 defense, and 1 kicker.
Yes.
So, Ulner, let me throw it to you to start off, brother. So, who did we pick up for our quarterback in Week 1 going forward?
Week 2, but yeah,
Week 2. I apologize. Right. Week 2, my bad.
It's all right. Football's moving too fast now. We don't know what week it is. Yeah, but ready for playoff time, to be honest with you. No, but we had Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
Monday night game, playing the Falcons, battle of the Birds. No A.J. Brown. You had Goddard. You had Saquon, who had an amazing game in Week 1 with 3 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts was poised to run the football.
Yeah.
We had called it. We even spoke a little bit about it too, saying Jalen Hurts needs to run. He needs to be able to find his identity and be able to be himself, which he did. And after Monday night, he was able to score a touchdown himself too, throw for a touchdown as well too, and he ended up with 23.82 points.
Yep.
So, which was amazing. compared to week 1 where we had a quarterback which was on low scoring.
Yeah.
We projected really well, and we upscaled.
Yep.
So Jalen Hurts did amazing for us.
Huge game.
Good job, Jalen Hurts, finding yourself. Tough loss on Monday. You can get it back.
That was tough.
But quarterback for the week we had Jalen Hurts, and then to our running backs we had, which was a little bit of a loss there.
Bit of a tough one on that.
Bit of a tough one, but hey, there was still upside on it.
Yeah.
Irshad will let you know the upside.
So our 2 running backs for the week, we had Etienne from Jacksonville, who had 14.8 points. All right, so a little bit lower than what we're anticipating.
Yeah.
But he was able to make the most of it and maybe stay within average.
Mm-hmm.
But the one where we took a bit of a hit was on Joe Mixon, as we mentioned. Now, once again, he finished off with 8 points. It wasn't a testament to his workload. It wasn't a testament to his skill. It's just because he got injured. For those who didn't catch it, it was a ankle injury.
Yeah.
He got twisted under while they tried to bring him down. And by the time he came back after being in the blue tent and in the change room, to be honest, it wasn't worth it to where they were in the game. He was on a snap count.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense. So they just iced him for the rest of the game. So that's kind of where we kind of took a step back. And I'd say probably one of our lowest markers came from a running back just from week 2 position.
Yeah.
So Mixon at 8, ATN at 14.8. But on a more positive swing, we had our 2 wide receivers.
Yes.
Now, one of them we locked in from Thursday Night Football.
Yes.
Which was Tyreek Hill.
Yes.
So we know this. And we kind of spoke to the last episode. Unfortunately, we saw Tua get injured.
Yeah.
You know, we thought maybe he can come back after they're being down a half, as it similar did to Jacksonville. But unfortunately, he got injured, concussion. You know, whether he's coming back is a different story, yet to be seen. But Tyreek Hill finished the game off at 6.6 points. But our wide receiver, though, our second wide receiver, made amends for Tyreek Hill.
Yes.
And we picked up from the Detroit Lions a
Yes.
big bounce back game that we called
Uh-huh.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, who picked up 22.9 whopping points for us. That brought us back. That honestly averaged our wide receiving core back to, you know, a manageable 15 points.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? A decent 50 points per position. But it doesn't stop there.
It doesn't.
We picked up a solid tight end, which I'll throw back to Ulner to let us know our pickup here at AIM Sports for tight end.
Ooh, tight end, we had George Kittle.
Ooh.
George Kittle had a bounce back game.
Big game.
Big game. But now, with San Francisco, there's a lot of injuries lingering on them.
There are.
Right? They lost McCaffrey already.
Yep.
Debo got injured. Even Kittle left and got injured.
He did.
But before he got injured, he went and scored a touchdown too. Mm-hmm. Just like a couple of our fantasy picks this week, we got Jalen Hurts scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
We got Etienne who scored a touchdown. We got Amon St. Brown who scored a touchdown, and then we had Kittle who scored a touchdown as well too. And he's proven himself to be an elite tight end. And he had a whopping 20.6 points.
Huge.
Huge
for a tight end. Huge.
For a tight end, huge. He played like he was a wide receiver and running back combined for points. But that tight end position, what we've had for Kittle, we called him having a bounce back game.
And he did.
And he gave us the points we needed to get closer to the century mark.
Yeah.
Which allowed us to pick a defense.
Yeah.
That we had the Chargers.
We did.
Who played the Carolina Panthers, who are not a, I guess, Super Bowl caliber team.
I don't even think they're an NFL caliber team at this point.
Let's be positive here. Said they're the ones who need to find their identity.
Yes.
Not are looking for it, they need to find it. They have no identity as of now. The Chargers ran over them, got the W, gave us a good 11 points to help us get closer to the century mark.
Mm-hmm.
And so far we were feeling really good about ourselves. Say, hey, we're almost there. But then at that 4 o'clock game, we had this kicker who decided to kick over whenever he needed to. Could be a 30, could be the 40, could be the 50, could be an extra point, could be a 10-yard field goal.
And he was hitting everything.
Oh, this guy's money. And my brother will tell you this money kicker that we had.
We called this guy from a team that was also part of our game of the week. And not only was he money, he practically kept them in it.
Yeah,
he kept them in the game. And we have the kicker, Mr. McPherson himself. Now, keep in mind, 53 yards, 48 yards, mid-game, these aren't small feats.
Oh, yeah.
He picked up 16 fantasy points for our owners out there. Based on how this week went, and based on Survivor and based on a bunch of other points, McPherson might have actually been your top 3-point getter on your team.
Oh, 100%.
McPherson was easily clearing. The amount that he was kicking was clearing. I think I saw better than our running backs at Mixon. We saw some better than Tyreek Hill this week. So McPherson came up big. We positioned him that he was going to do really, really well, and he did. So our grand total for this entire week, based on this team, based on the solid calls we made, but due to injury, it had a bit of a downshift.
Yes.
So it's only because of injury that this kind of happened. Our total here was 123.7 total points. So that comes to roughly about 15.5 points per position that AIM Sports Betting Week 2 lineup was able to get you. So for those who are listening, we hope you're able to capitalize, at least pick some of the good ones, and hopefully you weren't too impacted by the injuries from Joe Mixon and Tua, and of course by association Tyreek Hill.
Correct.
In our pick. But our goal, like we said, is to get you above that 100-point marker. And we did.
Yes, we did. For the first time in 2 weeks, we got it there.
That's it. And we're going to keep you up there, hopefully.
Yes, let's keep that trend. We started the streak with 1. And talking about streaks.
Now let's get into our last component of fantasy from week 2, which is a streak that has unfortunately
come to an
end. And I'm sure for many has also come to an end.
Yes.
And that is the Survivor streak. Ulner, who did we pick and what happened, man?
So we had the Baltimore Ravens, who came out week 1 playing against the defending champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Showed some life that they could play football. Showed some life that they would be able to compete with Kansas City. Yes, they took the loss. Sure, no problem. Now they went out to go play the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
Who have a coach who was interim last year, new coach. They got a quarterback who's been in the league, but who's been a backup quarterback. And he's also led some games. He was a starter, don't get me wrong. But you would expect a lot more from a team called the Baltimore Ravens to produce against a certain team that hasn't, I guess, once again, found their identity and who they are. And the spread was a small sample too. It was 8.5 or almost 9. Even then, a team could not win the game. This team could not go over the hump. They just don't know how to finish off games.
Yeah.
Like, even though on last week 1, when they played Kansas City, it started off with a shoe size. And then week 2, they didn't know what to do on where to get a field goal or how to get it. Football lost their mind. And I feel there's been a lot of attention on the Baltimore Ravens this year, even preseason, talking about how Lamar Jackson is MVP caliber, which he's always been.
Yep.
Right? You have Derrick Henry, who also is MVP caliber on that team too. But there were times where he wasn't on the field. Yes, the age is there too. Yes, he's getting old. But having that name, that persona, that defensive mindset as a coach in Harbaugh, you should be able to produce.
Yeah.
And for them not to be able to produce puts them in such a deep hole where they're starting 0-2. And for that division, they need to start getting wins.
Yeah.
And I guess they're lucky because Cincinnati didn't win as well too. But you have Pittsburgh at 2-0. And then you have Cleveland at 1-1, and then you have themselves, Baltimore and Cincinnati at 0-2. But then it doesn't make it easier for Baltimore.
No.
They go and they play Dallas, who got slapped up against New Orleans.
Yep.
You think they're not coming out for revenge to play football? So this Sunday's matchup is going to be an exciting matchup, a lot of popcorn, but tough loss for us. We owned up to it, and it's just.
It was tough. It was tough. I mean, look, you saw Lamar. It's not like Lamar had a horrible game. They were just kind of all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. I think they were just a little disorganized, and it in spite of the disorganization that they were facing on the field, they still lost only by 3, which means they have the talent, they have the the receiving core, the running back core. They have all that. Mm-hmm. They just now have to be able to get a little organized, and like you said, see the games through.
Yeah.
Right? If you're up, you're up. If you're catching up, you're catching up. But the reality of it is, you can't taper off near the end. Exactly. You have to play all 60 minutes of football.
Yeah.
Period.
That's
right?
it, done.
And I think at the end of the day, a team like Baltimore, with the squad that they have, will hold it down. They just can't let the foot off the gas.
Exactly.
And I think they've done that twice now.
They have, yes. Where they just let it go. They're like, oh, hey, they got comfortable. And they're like, oh, it's okay. And then they went straight to panic mode.
And then you can't recover.
You can't recover. Because
Right.
if you were stable and
Yeah.
continued in the same vibe, you wouldn't be in panic mode.
Yep.
Right? You wouldn't be comfortable, but you would be at ease.
Because the last 3 scoring plays were all from Vegas, which means it was a field goal, then a touchdown, and then a game-winning field goal. Which means that I'm sure when they were up, that field goal, they were like, oh, no problem.
Yeah.
And then when that touchdown happened,
Oh, they were in panic.
they were in panic mode.
Yeah.
And then when they lost the possession, that's when things started going through the roof. Because now you're basing it possession by possession. And Vegas did what Vegas did. They just simply marched it down and queued up for a field goal.
That's it.
That's it. That's all they had to do.
That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, that's how you win games. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter how you win it.
You
A win is a win.
A win is a win. And in this case, like we talked about, Vin Diesel said it best. Doesn't matter if you win by a point or 20 points.
Yeah.
A win is a win.
Exactly.
And in this case, they won by a field goal. It gave Baltimore the loss. And aside from the loss on their record, it gave us, as well as I'm sure hundreds of thousands of survivor pools out there, also a broken survivor bracket because Baltimore
Yes.
is out of survivor,
Yes.
unfortunately. But we have something up our sleeve for that, so stay tuned for that. And lastly, our trending bet call from last week, which was Joe Mixon, anytime touchdown. As we mentioned, unfortunately, he got injured, which actually limited his ability to score. And because of that, we were unfortunately not able to make the call from there. But bounce back week, here we are.
Yeah.
So going into the bounce back week itself, like we mentioned, Thursday Night Football is actually different than our game of the weeks. And this week, Thursday Night Football is not going to be one of the game of the weeks. So coming into it, into the New England at New York Jets game, Ulner is currently 1-1.
Yes.
I'm currently 0-2. Currently, the line stands as -6 for the Jets, but opened up at -7 for the Jets. And Ulner, you mentioned this is the first divisional game for him. So I'll throw it over to you first. Who do you like? What do you like? Why? What are your thoughts? Lay it out for us.
All right, so we got first divisional game for both teams playing against each other. This is Aaron Rodgers playing against New England for the first time after signing that large contract with them, playing with them because he got injured last year, first snap. This game is going to be interesting. It's a Thursday night game, which means short week for both teams. If you look at the stats, New England has the upper hand where in the past 10 games they've been 9-1. Against the spread, New England is 7-3 against the spread. But let's not forget, this is also with Tom Brady playing for them as well too.
Yeah.
We're going back about 5 years now. On top of it as well too, the Jets haven't had an elite quarterback as Aaron Rodgers to lead their team to overpass, to beat New England. It doesn't matter at home or in the Jets. We also have the coach for the Jets who doesn't have a good record against New England.
Of course.
And it's also because of New England's firepower. This is also the first year there's no Bill Belichick for New England. There's no different schemes that they can throw to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers should be able to carve up this defense. That being said, being 9-1 for New England, for you not to be able to beat a team in your division who has the same record as you going into week 2, with Buffalo being 2-0, and then you got Miami who lost Tua, who's 1-1, and then you have New England 1-1, and you have the Jets as 1-1.
Yeah.
I don't see the Jets going down 1-2. If the Jets go down 1-2 and New England beats them, that means New England has the upper hand against them, owns a tiebreaker against them.
Right.
I don't see it. I feel the Jets are going to come on here poised. They're going to find their identity against New England, show everybody their defense. They're going to have Sauce Gardner there doing what he does best. And they know New England's game plan is running the football, which they've been doing for the past 2 weeks, and it's helped them.
Yeah.
They played, look at last week against Seattle. They still ran the football. They stayed true to their game. They did not switch up their game plan or the game regardless of them winning or losing.
Right.
They stayed true to the game. They ran the football. Once they ran the football, they found a way to get the football to the wide receivers or the tight ends and were able to score points. I feel the Jets defense is here. They're going to stop them. The over-under is set at 38, which is a really low score, but it is a Thursday game on a short week. Elner, feel the Jets are going to come here with Aaron Rodgers as an elite quarterback who they have not had in years. cover the spread -6 and just beat New England.
Interesting. I mean, look, you brought up some good points, right? I think someone that's Aaron Rodgers' caliber, that veteranship, do I think he's going to go down, especially in a divisional matchup like this, and go 1-2? I mean, do I think he's going to lose tomorrow? Maybe not, right? But one thing that I believe is I think that the New England Patriots will cover the +6. All right. So whether or not, like, I don't know whether the Jets will actually win. They may win, sure, by 3, but I do think the Pats will cover.
Okay.
Now, for a variety of reasons, right? I mean, first of all, you got to keep in mind that this is the Jets' home opener.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So they're coming in from Tennessee. Right now, New England had played at home last week. So really, New England.
They take a train to New
take
Jersey.
A train. Like, it's right there, the tri-state area, right?
Yeah.
So you're right there. It's practically a home game for lack of better words, right? Now, yes, both teams had a shorter week, Sunday to Thursday. Yes, you have injuries in, C.J. Mosley, okay, for sure. You definitely have injuries with the Jets. That's understandable. You're going to see that across the board. But one of the things that I'm otherwise seeing is Patriots were able to keep up with a caliber like the Seahawks, with the Kenneth Walker, with Geno Smith. You're able to see that level of caliber where they actually really extend that into overtime.
Yes.
Did they win? No, they lost, but it was by 3.
Yes.
So I do think that they're going to be able to kind of keep it close. Now, one of the things that I'll also, kind of share here is just the sheer reality is Aaron Rodgers. We know this, and we talked about this before. Aaron Rodgers does have a higher record against the spread when it's played on a Thursday.
Yes.
But majority of those games that he's played on a Thursday were in his career at Green Bay. So it might not necessarily be the most accurate information.
Yes.
Right? But one thing that I can share with you here is Jets are 1-15 straight up in their last 16 games against the Patriots. Okay? Including 23 straight since the start of 2011.
Yeah.
So I will repeat that again for the people in the back. The Jets have won once.
Yes.
And lost 15 times in the last 16 games against the Patriots. Okay? So I think there is a level of understanding that New England just does have a bit of an edge. At the same token, I will take this with a grain of salt because this also is in the Tom Brady era.
Yes, correct.
Right? This is also part of the Tom Brady era.
Or the Jets didn't have Aaron Rodgers. They had a quarterback who just was a throw in a filler.
Of course, right? So I will also add that. Now the Jets are 1-7 against the spread. We know this, right? So there is a lot of skewed information because you have the pre-Rodgers, pre-Brady era, during Brady era information on here. So that actually does kind of set the lines up a little bit. But one other key point is Robert Saleh.
Yes, like we said earlier, yeah.
Robert Saleh, I do give him credit. He's a good coach.
Yes.
Right? Sometimes I feel he kind of gets the lousier part of the stick. He is 1-5 straight up against the Patriots in his career, including 4-14 straight up, which entails a 7-11 against the spread against divisional opponents, and it's a divisional game. So historically and statistically, it is not only favoring a win for the Patriots, but it's definitely favoring a win for the spread.
Yes,
for
correct.
the Patriots, right? Home teams are simply 37-52 against the spread.
And that's only on Thursdays.
Only on Thursdays.
Since 2019.
Since 2019.
Yes,
okay?
correct.
And this includes the 33 and 46, just Thursday night games, right?
Yes.
So these are just home teams,
Yeah.
and then Thursday night games in general.
Yes.
Okay? So my take here is historically, you have all the numbers kind of going into Patriots' favor.
Yes,
That's
correct.
one thing. But one thing I'm also seeing is a bounce back game from Hunter Henry. Okay? I think Breece Hall is going to hold it down.
For sure.
I think you're definitely going to have someone like him, Garrett Wilson, kind of step in. We saw Alan Lazard also coming into his own, picked up a couple of T's, right? But you don't want to discount the veteranship from KJ Osborne, right?
Of course.
Ex-Vikings, right?
For sure.
You have Jalen Polk.
Yeah.
Right? Hunter Henry in himself is solid. And Ramondre Stevenson is definitely a member of the Patriots in that transitionary period from the Brady era. Which means, quite simply, is that he has the veteranship and the guidance to kind of hold it down himself, both from a skill element, but also from a guidance perspective, right? So you do have that, and I think Jacoby Brissett post-Indianapolis is starting to fill into his role. Have the wins necessarily showed for it? No. Yes, they beat Denver in week 1. I'm happy. I'm great. It's grateful for that. But I think it's going to really be pushed to the test against a veteran team like the Jets. So kind of coming down to it is all to say, I do think this is going to be a good Thursday night football game. I do also think that the Jets, whether they win or not, that's one thing. I can't speak to that because I'm calling the Patriots spread at +6, right? And at, was it over under 38.5?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm calling a game like 21-17, like I was telling you.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's enough room for Rodgers to do a pass to Garrett Wilson, maybe to Lazard, and maybe do a check down or a rush from Breece Hall. There's that, and there's still room for a Jacoby Brissett to maybe an Osborne or maybe a Hunter Henry kind of check down at the red zone with the Jets defense kind of closing out, or Ramondre Stevenson taking it up, all followed by maybe a couple of field goals. So all to say is 38.5, I think is super manageable with what we're seeing in the divisional round. I think Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, is coming down to the era where I think he might have started looking to hang up the boots. Okay. I think Rodgers is getting to that point where, his veteranship is there. It's super useful. The guidance is invaluable. I just don't know if his team can kind of keep up with that and kind of demolish teams, especially with the kind of the coaching, the offensive coordination from the Jets offense. So yes, they'll protect him, but will they be able to be as explosive? I don't know. And I think it'll be back and forth. I think the inexperience of the Patriots will be there, but that's what leads me to believe that it'll be a close game, and the Pats will cover +6.
Okay.
That's it.
All
so
right.
That's my kind of take on it, folks.
All right.
So I know we're a little separate.
We are.
We're riding separate, but I think there's nuggets of information on both sides
100%.
that I think could help inform you guys who are listening as to make a call, but understand the rationale as to the why.
For sure.
Right?
Even going on Earshot's point, too, will help him out, too, even though I'm going against him. You have a team with New England who has a new coach.
Yeah.
Right? You have a new quarterback who's not really a star caliber.
No.
You have a running back who's been there for years on that team, who knows the scheme.
Yeah.
But as a new head coach, like if I put myself in a new head coach's place's shoes, I want to get points on the board.
Yes.
I am not going to go down on 4th and 3 at the 30-yard line and be like, hey, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
I'm getting that 3 points.
Yeah.
Knowing Aaron Rodgers come back, score a touchdown, sure, but that 3 points is valuable than 0.
Yeah.
So for me, for what you were saying earlier, where the team could go down, kick some field goals, and cover the spread, I like it. But then again, the numbers we have here are all pre-Aaron Rodgers era.
Exactly.
And you said the inexperience as well too for New England, that they won't know how to react to Aaron Rodgers is gonna be a huge factor in this game. It's gonna be, does Aaron Rodgers carve up the defense as the quarterback he is when he was in Green Bay, or does New England throw him schemes that he's never seen before, which is post Belichick era, and throw him off his game? So this game, I feel, is going to be interesting. I feel maybe one bag of popcorn should be good for this game. You don't need multiple. I think it'll still keep you on your toes, keep you on the edge of your seat, and have some good football.
It'd be a close game, I think.
But we know Thursday footballs are always a hit or miss,
Yeah.
especially with divisional games. But yeah, this game is going to be interesting. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, New England Patriots, New York Jets, home opener for the Jets, divisional game for both.
Yep.
My brother got the +6. I got the -6. We love games that ended 6, apparently, because last week, too, everything ended 6. But let's keep our Thursday record going, and let's enjoy football tomorrow with a bag of popcorn.
It'd be a close game. Which now leads us to, we talked about the Thursday Night Football outcome on the spread side of things. But now also for those who are playing daily fantasy, we like to obviously break down and give you our ideal fantasy lineup, not to be misconstrued for our weekly fantasy lineup, but rather just for the daily fantasy for Thursday Night fantasy football.
Yes.
And in this case, all we do is pick one person at every position, and it's going to be either from the Jets or for the Patriots. It's simple as that, right? Now, in this case, what we can share preemptively is none of these individuals will be in our actual Week 3 lineup.
Correct.
So we just want to make sure that's clear. This is solely for the Thursday Night Football fantasy lineup and what we think is going to be a high scoring between these two.
Yes, correct.
All right. So I'll throw it to you first. Maybe you give us the big three offensive core. Give us the quarterback, running and back, wide receiver, brother. So who's your quarterback, man?
So our quarterback, we're going to go here, Aaron Rodgers.
Done.
He's playing the Patriots again, first time since signing with the Jets.
Yeah.
He's poised to have a big game. He's going to be able to carve that team. And while carving that team, there's a player on that team as well, too, who can carve the team with his legs.
Yep.
And that is Breece Hall as a running back. Now, with Breece Hall carving the defense with running his football, the New England Patriots are going to be like, hey, let's stop the run. Once they try to stop the run, you'll have a play action, which goes to Garrett Wilson.
Well, there it is.
So now you have 1, 2, and 3, that whole package of the Jets with Rodgers, Hall, and Wilson.
Yes.
We feel those three are going to have an explosive game tomorrow and should be able to have the highest points in fantasy for a Thursday lineup.
In their positions.
Yes, correct.
In their positions. Which now leads us to the other side. So I'll finish off the offense with tight end. I mean, coming back from what we saw here with the Pats, we have the veteranship from Ramondre Stevenson. We have the semi-inexperience from Jacoby Brissett. And you have the veteranship from Osborne, ex-Vikings. But what we're seeing is a tight end really stepping up tomorrow, slated for a big bounce-back game, and that's going to be in Hunter Henry.
Yes.
We think the ball's going to be moved around too much between Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard's, that Conklin may or may not get as much as Hunter Henry. So we're going with Hunter Henry for a tight end. But we do believe that the Jets are going to be shutting them down and making sure this game does, in fact, remain close. And that's why we're picking the Jets' defense to hold it down over the Pats. But because of this tight defense, we anticipate good old Joey Sly from the Pats to be kicking field goals to keep this game close, as opposed to just the kicker on the Jets here, where he'll be kicking just practically for extra points.
Yes, technically, yes.
You know what I mean? I mean, Greg the leg is solid.
Yes.
Right? There's no doubt about it. But at the same token, I think he's going to be kicking primarily for extra points.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like you see, we have the Jets offense. We have Hunter Henry from the Patriots.
Jets defense.
We got the Jets offense in the first four though.
The first four, yes.
First three, sorry. We got Rodgers, Hall, and Wilson
yep.
who are poised to have a big game. Yes, one of them should score a touchdown.
Yeah.
Right, and we feel here in betting that the love has to be shared.
Of course.
It cannot just go to one person. So we feel Aaron Rodgers is going to throw the ball to Breece Hall, throw the ball to Wilson, Hall will run the football, and we feel a lot of points going there. Hunter Henry on the other side, like you mentioned, Irshad, he's poised to have a little check down with Stevenson running.
Yeah.
They also have Gibson as well too. We cannot forget about Gibson. But Gibson, I feel, is a big decoy for Hunter Henry to show his potential.
Yeah.
To go where he's coming from. And then you got the Jets defense, and then the kicker, how we said earlier too, right? New coach.
Yeah.
3 points is better than 0.
Exactly.
In any sport or anything in life, any points is better than 0.
0 points.
So you're going to have the Patriots kicker kicking, getting us some fantasy points.
Yeah.
That daily fantasy for Thursday. Look solid. Hopefully past the century mark.
That's it.
We're going to find out tomorrow. Everybody tuning in. We'll see tomorrow.
Let's hope so. I mean, if we're a bit past the century mark on a Thursday Night Football for one person per position, I mean, that's going to be a stellar team.
Oh, stellar team.
Stellar team. So coming back into Survivor mode. Now, like we talked about, this is not a Survivor game. Here at AIM Sports, we did lose Survivor. Thank you, Baltimore. But we're going to continue to offer a free straight up or money line pick, if you will, under the rules and parameters of Survivor going forward for those who are still in it to maybe kind of give something extra to think about.
Correct.
So on that note, this game is not going to be our Survivor picks for this season. We're going to kind of pass that. But tune in on Saturday. We'll let you know who our Survivor is for for Sunday going forward.
For sure.
Now, which leads us to nearing our end of our segment here for trending bets. And Alner, I know you mentioned it before in terms of the offense, in terms of our fantasy lineup, so I'll throw it to you first. Our anytime touchdown scorer trending bet, who are you positioning? What are the odds for the folks, using their sports books? And what's your take on that, man?
So we here at AIM Sports Betting, we use Decimal. We have this wide receiver who is at 2.6 times your money to score a touchdown anytime.
Yep.
Not first, not last, anytime. And the value we feel here for Garrett Wilson is over what he should be. I feel this is really good value.
Yep.
And as we were saying earlier, share the love while scoring touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers has thrown the ball to his buddy from Green Bay, Lazard, twice. In one game, he scored twice. Breece Hall has a rushing touchdown. Breece Hall has a receiving touchdown. But you look at Garrett Wilson, who's racked up about 150 yards in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He's been getting targeted almost 6+ times a week. Now going on a short week against the Patriots, who have a new scheme, new head coach. I feel Wilson is going to carve it. We feel Wilson is going to carve it. We feel Wilson is going to go into the end zone, and he deserves to score a touchdown from Aaron Rodgers.
He does.
He has to go into the touchdown party with all of them.
It's a home opener. Hasn't scored a touchdown yet.
And the fans will love it.
Yep.
Breece Hall for sure is there, but Wilson is their go-to guy with a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And so we feel Garrett Wilson at 2.6 is amazing value. I myself, between Irshad and myself, will probably going to hammer this because the value is just too good to be true.
Yeah, I agree. We probably put a few units down on this because I think it makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, everybody definitely, bet responsibly, bet your own kind of units, but I think 2.6 is good value for Garrett Wilson. He's the number one wide receiver on the team.
Yeah.
He's been targeted, like you said. He's been picking up the yardage. Just hasn't been able to, close that with a touchdown.
The end zone. That's all it is.
That's all it is. So I think Rodgers, like you agree, I agree with you, is collective decision here. Garrett Wilson, 2.6, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
And TBD, I guess we'll see what happens, but he definitely is someone that I think Rodgers will be looking for first.
Oh, yeah.
Quite honestly.
For sure. 100% he's going to be looking at him first. He's always, even third down, he's always going to him. If we watched last week too, right? They were playing against Tennessee, third down. Even week 1, right when they were playing San Francisco. Garrett Wilson was still getting targeted. Even if he was double covered, he was still getting targeted. And so for a player like that to just get targeted, it's just, he was targeted 11 times against San Francisco.
Jeez. Which means, in spite of double coverage, Rodgers, A, still trusted him.
Exactly.
And B, still believed that he could make that play.
Yes, exactly. And then even last week too, he was targeted about 6. He was targeted 6 times last week.
Yeah.
And he caught 4 catches for 57 yards, only missed 2.
Yeah.
So this week on a short week against New England, Garrett Wilson, I feel is the way to go.
And at what, roughly with a quick math on about 15 yards per carry or 15 yards per catch?
Yeah, average.
Average?
Yeah.
I mean, high level of 15 yards, that is a good option for a quick slant route. Bang, in the end zone.
Yeah, done. Exactly.
Right.
So Garrett Wilson,
2.6.
Yeah, 2.6. Lock it in. AIM Betting. You heard it here first.
That's it.
And that's it.
And I mean, coming down to the end of our segment, we want to leave you guys on a bit of a cliffhanger. So we have not our games of the week yet. We'll announce that all on Saturday. But we have some games of interest that look interesting to potentially become our game of the weeks, maybe, if and maybe. But also good games to keep an eye out, just generally to watch. Whether it's divisional implications, conference implications, or just a good matchup altogether. So, I'll throw it to you first, man. What's the first game of the interest here?
My first game of interest here is about reuniting.
Okay.
When you have an ex coming back.
That's it.
And as we said earlier, we said that when the Houston Texans show themselves their identity, we'll pick them. But this is a really good game. Stephon Diggs, ex-Minnesota Viking, going back home.
That's it.
It's like meeting the family again.
Yeah,
it's like, what do you do? So we got the Houston Texans versus Minnesota Vikings. That's a potential game of the week that we find here interesting.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. The battle of the exes. Going back to the ex-in-laws, Oh, man. Which, I'll throw over to this. I'll do the second one here, which, we talked about it at the beginning of the show.
Yes.
Is... my personal team, the New Orleans Saints, is if they're able to beat this competitor this week, they can definitely solidify themselves as a top 5 Super Bowl, not just a divisional winner, but a potential Super Bowl contender for this year. And that game of interest is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the New Orleans Saints.
Ooh, big game.
That's going to be a big game. If the Saints can pull off against the Eagles what they did the last 2 games, oh buddy, I think they're going to make a bit of a run.
Oh, they're going to be headline story, top story. And that gives us 2 games of interest. We have a third game that we also like too, that we also spoke about earlier too, which is a team that 1A should have won, B got stunned. We got the Baltimore Ravens and the Dallas Cowboys. We had Baltimore coming off a huge loss to the Vegas Raiders, and then we had Dallas, who got destroyed by the Saints. They both need a bounce back win. It's going to be in Dallas. I personally don't see Baltimore going down 0-3, but that's on Saturday for everyone to tune in to find out if we do pick that for a game of the week. But yeah, Baltimore Dallas is must watch TV.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good game, like you said.
Yeah,
big
really
matchup.
Game. Yeah.
Big matchup. Which kind of leads into another big matchup that's otherwise happening right now, and that is going to be the Sunday night primetime game, which is the Kansas City Chiefs against the Atlanta Falcons. Right? I mean, Falcons coming off a W, right? Albeit a 1-point W, but a W nonetheless. The Chiefs trying to still solidify themselves. I mean, they're already 2-0. They want to make sure that it's known that they are playing to win here. I think it's going to be a huge game. I mean, you got Kirk Cousins, Mahomes. That's always a good matchup. And more importantly, I mean, the change in the offensive strategy now that Pacheco's out.
Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean, right? I mean, obviously Pacheco's out. Edwards-Helaire is still out.
Yeah.
Right? So does Kareem Hunt come in and start dominating? Does he get, is he on a snap count? What happens? So lots to be seen, but I think it'll be a good game. Because at the same token, you have someone as dominating on the other side as Bijan Robinson.
Yeah,
who was
for sure.
Top 5 running back this year for a lot of fantasy. So, interesting game, but good to see Sunday night primetime.
And then there's another one that comes into mind, too. You got a little reuniting from meeting the, in-laws. You got Jacksonville, Buffalo.
Yeah.
You got Gabe Davis, who was in Buffalo all his career, played amazing football, and then this year decided to go to Jacksonville. Jacksonville has a team that's up and down, going into Buffalo, going from hot, sunny weather to the cold.
Yeah.
So this game is going to be interesting. Maybe Gabriel Davis does a little, welcome home, or, you should not let me go, coming back kind of thing. So be careful what you wish for. But that's another game that potentially could be game of the week, which leads us to our last game of interest we have, which my brother will let us know, which this game I feel has a lot of injuries in it.
It is, yeah.
And that's what makes it more interesting, because this game should have been number 1, should be America's game of the week, but because of these injuries makes it a little tough but also interesting at the same time.
Yeah, it makes the entire game, the betting avenue, the fantasy avenue, a little uncertain.
Yeah.
And that last game here is San Francisco and the LA Rams, right? Proximity wise, climate wise, they kind of have the same things going for them, so it's not too far off. But to Allner's point, it's a lot of injury.
Yeah.
Like Stafford, yes, the Rams are 0-2. Sure, they're going against 1-1 49ers, which is a surprise in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
But C-Mac is injured, so that's one big surprise we all have. We haven't seen him play this year. But Purdy versus Stafford, cool. I feel like they're good, but they're only as good as their wide receiving core. Mm-hmm. But Kupp is questionable.
Yeah,
he's out.
He's out for a lot.
He's out for a little bit. Puka Nakua's on the IR.
Done.
He's done. On the flip side, you have Deebo Samuel, who's doubtful.
Yeah.
Right? We know McCaffrey's injured.
Yeah.
Elijah Mitchell's out.
Yeah.
Right? We have a lot of injuries when it comes to their offensive linemen, defensive linemen. And then, of course, we have Davis Allen is out.
Yeah.
The tight end for the Rams. They're out. It leads us to a bit of a question as to how they're going to be able to bounce back. And their tight end number, Higbee.
Yeah.
Higbee's gone too for the season.
Yeah.
So a lot of injuries on 2 very promising teams that unfortunately got a bad hand when it came to injuries.
Yeah.
And, this is reality of football. We're going to see this more and more. It's only week 3. But it's going to take a lot of adaptation, right? We see some coaches are good at it, Andy Reid being one of them. How will, they adapt to the new changes here, right? Sean McVay, especially with the changes now to his wide receiver core. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are out.
Yeah.
Who is Stafford throwing through here?
Robinson, 2-2 out.
That's what it is. But now are they able to step into the spotlight and say, all right, this is my time to shine? and that's gonna be something that we're gonna be see.
Yeah.
On come Sunday.
Well, yeah. If we pick that as a game of the week, tune in.
Tune in.
As we already got heated about what this game's gonna be about. Potentially could be a game of the week. But yes, folks, those are 6 games we have that potentially could be games of the week. Tune in on Saturday to hear us out, hear our picks.
Yep.
Let's keep the streak going. As Survivor, we lost, but we have some good picks. We got in the W column this week.
That's it.
And before we finish, our last segment is recap. Let's recap our picks.
TLDRs for those who were tuning in.
Yes.
Essentially coming in to Thursday Night Football. Owner's record is currently 1-1.
Yep.
I'm 0-2. Mm-hmm. For the New England New York Jets game for Thursday Night Football, currently Vegas has them at -6 for the Jets. Ulner is sticking with that at -6. At -6.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, +6.
-6. Ulner's calling -6 Jets.
No wild card here today.
No wild card.
Yeah.
I'm calling +6. No wild card.
Yeah.
+6. I think the New England Patriots are going to keep this game close. And then for our Thursday night daily fantasy lineup, just for the night, we have the better quarterback being Rodgers, the better running back being Breece Hall,
correct,
better wide receiver being Wilson, tight end Hunter Henry, our defense being Jets, and our kicker being Joey Sly.
Yes, so we have that there. If you guys want to insert any of those into your daily fantasy lineup, or even start any of those players in your fantasy lineup, feel free, have confidence in us, have confidence in yourself to put this in there. As we did get a W column. And once again, tomorrow, bag of popcorn, football. Get ready to see Garrett Wilson do a nice celebration in the end zone, as we have that as a trending bet for us.
That's it.
Aaron Rodgers will find his favorite target in the end zone. They will celebrate. Hopefully get the W.
That's it.
Maybe win exactly by 6 or more.
Oh,
we'll
see how that one goes. But hopefully Garrett Wilson ends up with that touchdown. It 2.6 times all of your units out there. So that'll be huge. And then for the rest of the games of the week, tune in on Saturday's drop. It will let you know how we did on Thursday Night Football. We'll let you know what we're feeling for Sunday.
Yes.
And keep in mind, bet what you can, have fun. Bet what you can afford to win, to lose, but have a good time while you're doing it.
Yes.
And hopefully we're part of your research analysis here, because I'll tell you, and I'll say it again, Ulner, we call the New Orleans correctly when all the big dogs up in the NFL Network called them Dallas.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have something, we know something. We have a different lens on things, folks. So stay healthy, stay happy. And, we'll see you guys on Saturday for the next episode.
Sounds good. Enjoy a bag of popcorn in tomorrow's game.
And
from Aim Betting, we're out. See you Saturday.
Peace.